The phone rang at 7:15 p.m. on a Tuesday. I was in my workshop, really just the garage of my small rental house in East Houston, sanding down a piece of oak I'd been turning into a jewelry box. For who I didn't know. Maybe I'd give it to Liam for his birthday. Kids don't care much about handmade things anymore, but I still like to think they appreciated the effort. Dad? It's Timothy. I set down the sandpaper and wiped my hands on my jeans. My son didn't call often. Once a month maybe. Always brief, always polite, always a little distant, like he was checking a box on a to-do list. Timothy, how are you, son? I'm good, Dad, really good. Listen, I wanted to run something by you. His voice had that bright, forced enthusiasm people use when they're about to ask for something. Rebecca and I were thinking, it's been 4 years since Mom passed. 4 years next month, actually. My chest tightened. 4 years since Carol died. 4 years since I held her hand while she took her last breath in our bedroom, the morning light coming through the curtains she'd picked out 30 years ago. Yellow with little blue flowers. She'd said they reminded her of spring. I know, son, I know. Right, well, we were thinking it's time for the family to do something together, something Mom would have wanted. A cruise, Dad, 7 days through the Caribbean. You, me, Rebecca, Liam, Kayla and her girls, all of us. I looked at the jewelry box, half finished. The wood grain caught the light from the single bulb hanging overhead. I don't know, Timothy. That's a lot of money and I'm not much for Dad. His voice shifted, softer now, the voice he used to use when he was a kid and wanted something. Mom would have wanted this. She always talked about taking you on a cruise, remember? She had that brochure from the travel agent, kept it on the fridge for like 2 years. He was right. Carol had wanted to go, had wanted to. We'd planned it for our 50th anniversary, but then the shipyard sale took longer than expected, and then she got sick, and then... Dad, you still there? I'm here. Look, the cruise is already booked. We're going regardless, but it won't be the same without you. Please, for Mom. There it was. For Mom. The words that always got me. How much is my share? Don't worry about it, Dad. It's our treat. Timothy, I'm not a charity case. How much? A pause. I heard Rebecca's voice in the background, muffled. Then Timothy again. Your cabin and expenses would be about $6,500, but seriously, Dad, I'll wire you the money tomorrow. Send me your account details. Dad, you really don't have to. I want to. I've got the money from the shipyard sale. I'm not broke, son. I can pay my own way. Another pause. Longer this time. Okay. Thanks, Dad. That's generous. We leave in 6 weeks. I'll email you all the details. 6 weeks, okay. And Dad, I'm really glad you're coming. It'll be good, I promise. After we hung up, I sat in my workshop for a long time, listening to the cicadas outside. The jewelry box sat unfinished on the workbench. I picked up the sandpaper again, but my hands were shaking. Something about Timothy's voice. Something about the way Rebecca had been talking in the background. Something about the whole conversation felt off, but I pushed it down. He was my son. He was trying to bring the family together. Carol would have wanted this. I went inside and transferred $6,500 to Timothy's account. The confirmation email came through at 7:43 p.m. I didn't know then that I'd just paid for my own abandonment. The next morning, I started packing. 6 weeks felt both too far away and too close. I pulled my old brown leather suitcase from the hall closet, the same one Carol and I had used for our 20th anniversary trip to Key West. The zipper was sticky. One corner was worn through, but it still worked. As I set it on the bed, a photo album fell out from behind it. I hadn't seen it in years. Must have been stuck back there when I moved out of the house after selling it. I sat on the edge of the bed and opened it. The first photo, Carol and me on our wedding day, 1978. Courthouse wedding. She wore a simple white dress she'd bought at JCPenney for $45. No veil, no big ceremony. We couldn't afford it. Her father, Mr. Reed, had given us $80,000 as a dowry, his entire savings. Build something worthwhile, Julian, he'd said. Except the old man had called me Julian. I'm Edward. The memory made me smile anyway. I turned the page. There we were in 1979, standing in front of an empty lot at the Houston port. Carol's hair was longer then, dark brown, blowing in the wind. I looked so young, 32 years old, a folded blueprint under my arm, dreams bigger than my bank account. That lot became Jackson Maritime Shipyard. For 42 years, it was my life. We started with 5 employees. By 1995, we had 200. We built cargo ships, repaired naval vessels, kept the port running. I flipped through more photos. Timothy as a baby, Kayla at 3, missing her front teeth, family Christmas photos. Carol always insisted on those, even when the kids complained. Then I stopped. 1993, a photo I'd forgotten about. It was taken at Houston General Hospital. I was standing next to a bed where a man lay covered in bandages. Diego Martinez, one of my welders. The explosion had happened on a Tuesday morning. A fuel tank wasn't sealed properly, my fault for not checking the work myself. The tank ignited during a welding job. Diego was standing right next to it. The blast threw him 15 feet. 40% of his body burned. The doctors said he wouldn't make it through the night, but he did. He made it through that night, and the next, and the next. 3 surgeries, 5 months in the hospital, another year of physical therapy. I paid for all of it, $350,000. Insurance covered maybe half. The rest came out of pocket. Carol sold her gold earrings, the only nice jewelry she owned, to help cover one of the surgeries. When Diego finally left the hospital, he hugged me so tight I thought he'd crack my ribs. "Mr. Edward," he'd said, his voice still raspy from the smoke damage, "my family will never forget this. Never. If you ever need anything, anything at all, you call me. I swear it on my life." Diego worked at the shipyard for another 25 years, retired in 2018, moved back to Cartagena, Colombia. We emailed for a while. He sent photos of his son Daniel growing up. Smart kid, going to university, studying photography. Then the email stopped. Life got busy. People drift apart. I stared at the photo for a long time. Then I turned the page and saw Carol in her hospital bed, 3 weeks before she died. She looked so small. Cancer had taken 50 pounds from her, but her eyes were still sharp, still clear. I remembered that day. Timothy had visited, asked about the will again. "Mom, we just need to know what you want," he'd said, "so we can prepare, so there's no confusion later." Carol had looked at him with an expression I couldn't quite read. Not anger, not disappointment. Something sadder. "The will is with Morrison," she'd said. "It'll be opened 4 years after I die, not before. That's what I want." "But Mom, why 4 years? That doesn't make any sense." "It makes perfect sense to me, Timothy, and it's my will, so that's what matters." He'd left frustrated. I remember hearing him on the phone in the hallway with Rebecca. "She's being completely irrational. The medication is messing with her head." But Carol wasn't irrational. She was the smartest person I ever knew. If she wanted the will sealed for 4 years, she had a reason. I closed the album. In 6 weeks, that 4-year period would be up. The will would be opened. We'd finally know what Carol had planned. I put the album back in the closet and continued packing. 6 weeks passed faster than I expected. Before I knew it, I was standing in the Houston Cruise Terminal parking lot, pulling my old suitcase from the trunk of my 2012 Honda Civic. The terminal was enormous. Glass walls, high ceilings, hundreds of people streaming toward the entrance with their rolling luggage and excited chatter. I felt out of place immediately. Too old, too plain, too ordinary for this place full of families wearing matching t-shirts and taking selfies. "Dad!" I turned. Timothy was walking toward me, wearing sunglasses that probably cost more than my entire outfit. Behind him, Rebecca in a white sundress, Liam dragging a suitcase almost as big as he was, and Kayla with her 2 daughters trailing behind. "You made it," Timothy said, pulling me into a quick, stiff hug, the kind of hug you give someone at a business meeting. "Of course I made it." I looked at my grandson. "Hey there, Liam. You excited?" The boy looked at me with wide eyes. He'd grown since I'd last seen him, taller, more serious looking. He was only 11, but something about his expression seemed older. "Hi, Grandpa." His voice was quiet. Rebecca stepped forward, all smiles. "Father Edward, we're so glad you're here. This is going to be wonderful, truly wonderful." I noticed Kayla hanging back, not quite meeting my eyes. She looked tired, thinner than I remembered. "Kayla, sweetheart, how are you?" She glanced up, forced a smile. "I'm good, Dad, really good. The girls are excited. Right, girls?" Her daughters, Emma and Sophie, were glued to their phones and barely acknowledged anyone. We checked in at the counter. A young woman in a crisp blue uniform scanned our IDs, printed boarding passes, and attached bright purple tags to our luggage. You're all set, Mr. Jackson. Cabin 428, Deck 4. She handed me a key card with a lanyard. Then to Timothy. And the Jackson Family Suite, Cabin 315, Deck 3. Enjoy your cruise. I looked at my key card, then at Timothy. We're on different decks? Oh, yeah. Timothy adjusted his sunglasses. The family suite only had 3 bedrooms. We've got me, Rebecca, Liam, and Kayla with the girls. We figured you'd want your own space anyway. More privacy, you know? Privacy. Right. Rebecca touched my arm. It's better this way, Father Edward. You'll be able to rest whenever you want. No grandkids running around keeping you up. The explanation made sense, but something about it felt wrong. Like I was being separated. Okay, I said. That's fine. We boarded the ship, the Caribbean Voyager. It was massive. 12 decks, white and gleaming in the afternoon sun. Inside it was all polished wood, brass railings and soft carpet. Music played from hidden speakers. Staff in white uniforms smiled and directed us to our rooms. I followed the signs to Deck 4. The hallway was narrow, doors lining both sides. I found 428 near the end. Inside, the cabin was small, very small. A single bed pushed against the wall, a bathroom the size of a closet, and a round porthole window looking out at the gray concrete of the port. No balcony, no sitting area, just enough room to turn around without bumping into something. I set my suitcase on the bed and sat down. The springs creaked. A knock on the door. Dad, it's me. I opened it. Timothy stood there with my backpack, the black canvas one I'd packed my important documents in. Hey, I was thinking, he said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. You should leave this in our cabin, all your valuables, your passport, wallet, phone, all that stuff. Why would I do that? Security, Dad. These cabins don't have safes. Ours does. Plus, you'll be carrying it around every day, on shore excursions, to dinner, everything. It's easier if you just keep it locked up safe with us. You can grab whatever you need whenever you need it. I hesitated. Everything important was in that bag. My passport, my phone, $2,100 in cash, the copy of Carol's will that Morrison had given me to review. I don't know, son. Dad, I'm trying to help you. These ships have theft problems. People leave their doors unlocked, stuff goes missing. Our suite has a wall safe. It's the smart thing to do. He was right. It did make sense. Okay, I said. But I'll need my phone in the mornings, and some cash for, of course, whatever you need. Just come by the suite. He picked up the backpack. You trust me, right? Of course I trust you. You're my son. Timothy smiled. Exactly. We're family. After he left, I stood in that tiny cabin and felt the ship's engines rumble to life beneath my feet. Through the porthole, I watched the port slowly begin to move, or rather, we began to move away from it. I had $80 in my pocket, a cabin key card, and nothing else. And for the first time, I wondered if I'd made a terrible mistake. The main dining hall was like something from a movie. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting warm light over white tablecloths and gleaming silverware. A pianist played soft music in the corner. Waiters in white gloves moved between tables, pouring wine and taking orders. I found our table, number 47. Timothy, Rebecca, and Liam were already seated. Kayla arrived a moment later with her daughters. Dad, over here! Timothy waved like we were at a crowded restaurant instead of an assigned seating arrangement. I sat down between Liam and one of the empty chairs. The boy glanced at me, then quickly looked away. Rebecca ordered wine. Timothy ordered a scotch. Kayla asked for water in a voice so quiet the waiter had to ask her to repeat it. So, Dad, Timothy said, swirling his scotch, what do you think of the ship so far? It's big, nice, very nice. Wait until you see some of the activities. There's a rock climbing wall, a pool with a water slide, cooking classes, dance lessons. I'll probably just read, I said. Maybe walk around the deck. I'm not much for activities. Rebecca laughed, that high, bright laugh that sounded rehearsed. Oh, Father Edward, you need to live a little. Try new things. Mom would want you to enjoy yourself. There it was again. Mom would want. They kept using Carol to push me, to manipulate my emotions, and it worked every single time. Dinner arrived. I'd ordered the grilled fish. It was good, covered in some kind of lemon butter sauce I couldn't quite place. Everyone ate in relative silence. Across the dining hall, I noticed a woman sitting alone at a small table. She was maybe in her mid-60s, gray hair cut short, wearing an elegant green dress. She was reading a book while she ate, occasionally looking up to observe the room. Our eyes met for a second. She gave me a polite smile. I nodded back. "Dad, are you listening?" I turned back to Timothy. "Sorry, what?" I said, "We dock in Cozumel tomorrow morning. Rebecca and I are staying on the ship. We've been there before. But you should go explore, get some sun, buy some souvenirs." "Sure, maybe." Liam suddenly pushed his chair back. "Can I sit next to Grandpa?" Rebecca's hand shot out, grabbing his wrist. "Liam, stay in your seat. Don't bother your grandfather." "He's not bothering me," I said. "Come on over, buddy." But Rebecca's grip tightened. "Liam, sit." The boy's face crumpled. He sat back down, staring at his plate. Something was very wrong here. After dinner, I walked back to my cabin slowly, taking the long route around the deck. The night air was warm, humid. The ocean stretched out black and endless on all sides. Above, stars were beginning to appear. I thought about Carol. She would have loved this. The dinner, the ocean, the feeling of being away from everything. She also would have noticed something was wrong, I muttered to myself. Back in my cabin, I lay on the narrow bed and stared at the ceiling. The ship's engines hummed. Somewhere above me, footsteps. Somewhere below, music from one of the bars. At 2:17 a.m., according to the digital clock on the nightstand, someone knocked. Tap, tap, tap. Soft, hesitant. I got up, opened the door. Liam stood there in his pajamas, blue ones with little spaceships on them. His feet were bare. His eyes were red and puffy. "Liam, what's wrong, kiddo?" He pushed past me into the cabin, shaking. I closed the door and knelt down to his level. "What happened? Did you have a nightmare?" "Grandpa." His voice broke. "I heard them talking. Mom and Dad. After you left dinner." My heart started beating faster. "Talking about what?" "About you, about Cartagena, about how you won't have your passport." Tears spilled down his cheeks. "And Mom said something about once he's gone, and Dad said they couldn't back out now, and I'm scared, Grandpa. I don't know what they're going to do, but I'm really scared." I pulled him into a hug. His small body trembled against mine. Hey, it's okay. It's just adult stuff. Grown-ups talk about complicated things sometimes, but it doesn't mean no." He pulled back, looking at me with those wide, serious eyes. "It's not okay. Something bad is going to happen. I can feel it. Please don't go to Cartagena, please." I wiped his tears with my thumb. "Liam, I promise you everything is going to be fine. Your mom and dad love me. They wouldn't..." But even as I said it, I didn't believe it. "Come on," I said. "Let's get you back to your cabin before they notice you're gone." I walked him back to Suite 315. The hallway was empty, quiet except for the distant hum of the ship. I knocked softly. Rebecca opened the door immediately, like she'd been standing right there. She was wearing a red silk robe, her face cold. "Liam had a nightmare," I said. "He came to find me." She yanked the boy inside without a word of thanks. I caught a glimpse of Timothy in the background, standing near the balcony, phone in his hand. Rebecca's eyes met mine. "Father Edward, please don't encourage him to wander around the ship at night. It's dangerous." He was scared. "He's a kid." "He's my kid. I'll handle it." She closed the door in my face. I stood there for a moment, my chest tight with a feeling I couldn't quite name. Then I went back to cabin 428, sat on the edge of the bed, and didn't sleep for the rest of the night. Because Liam was right. Something bad was going to happen. I just didn't know how bad. Not yet. The next morning, I went to Timothy's suite to get some cash from my backpack. I knocked 3 times before Rebecca answered, already dressed in a white linen outfit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. "Father Edward, what do you need?" Not good morning. Not how did you sleep. Just, what do you need? "I'm going ashore. I need some money from my wallet." She hesitated, just for a second. Then she opened the door wider. The suite was massive compared to my cabin. Living area with a couch and TV, kitchenette, balcony with actual outdoor furniture, 3 bedroom doors off the main room. "Timothy's still sleeping," Rebecca said, walking to a closet near the entrance. She pulled out my backpack and opened it. "How much do you need?" I can get it myself. How much, Father Edward? I swallowed my irritation. $40. She counted out 2 20s from my wallet, handed them to me, and zipped the backpack shut again. Anything else? No, that's fine. Good. Have fun in Cozumel. We'll see you at dinner. I left feeling like I'd just been dismissed by a secretary. Cozumel was beautiful, hot, colorful, full of life. I walked through the markets, bought a small wooden sea turtle for Liam, some postcards I'd probably never send. The vendors were friendly, calling out in cheerful Spanish and English. Best prices, senor. Come look. For your wife? She passed away, I said to one particularly persistent woman. Her face softened immediately. I'm sorry, senor. I have something special for you then, for memory. She showed me a small painted tile with a hummingbird on it. In Mexico, we say the hummingbird carries messages to heaven. For your wife. She will hear your love. I bought it for $12. As I walked back toward the ship, I noticed the woman from dinner last night, the one sitting alone. She was at a jewelry stand, examining a silver bracelet. Hello, I said. She looked up, smiled. Hello, enjoying Cozumel? I am. You? Very much. I'm Sophia Martinez. Edward Jackson, nice to meet you. We talked for a few minutes. She was from Cartagena, Colombia, traveling alone after her husband passed away 2 years ago. A writer, she said, working on a book about social media and human connection. That's interesting, I said. I don't know much about social media. I have a Facebook account, but I think I've posted on it twice in 5 years. She laughed. That's more than some people. Are you traveling with family? My son and his family. My daughter and her kids. Family reunion of sorts. That's wonderful. She paused. You seem thoughtful. Is everything okay? I don't know why I said it. Maybe because she was a stranger. Maybe because I needed to say it out loud to someone. Do you ever get the feeling something's wrong, but you can't put your finger on what? Sophia's expression grew serious. Yes, I trust those feelings. They're usually right. We stood there in the Mexican heat, 2 strangers sharing a moment of honesty. Well, I said finally, I should get back to the ship. Me too. Perhaps I'll see you at dinner? Perhaps. That night, back in cabin 428, I noticed something. The door lock had a small digital display that showed the last time it was opened. I'd noticed it earlier but hadn't thought much about it. Last entry, 2:47 p.m. I'd left for Cozumel at 9:30 a.m. and returned at 4:15 p.m. Someone had been in my cabin while I was gone. I checked my suitcase. Everything was there. Clothes, toiletries, my book, nothing missing. But things were slightly rearranged. The way someone tries to put things back exactly as they were, but gets it just a little bit wrong. I sat on the bed, my heart pounding. Tomorrow we'd dock in Cartagena, and Liam's warning echoed in my head. Please don't go to Cartagena, please. But I would go. Because I was stubborn. Because I didn't want to believe my own children could do something terrible. Because I was a fool. Day 3. Cartagena, Colombia. I woke at 6:30 a.m. to the sound of the ship's horn announcing our arrival. Through my porthole window, I could see the Colombian coastline, green mountains rising behind a sprawling port city, buildings painted in warm yellows and oranges catching the early morning light. I showered, dressed in my white linen shirt and khaki pants, and headed to breakfast. The dining hall was less crowded this morning. Many passengers had already gone ashore. Timothy, Rebecca, and Liam sat at our usual table. Kayla was nowhere to be seen. Morning, Dad. Timothy didn't look up from his phone. Where's Kayla? Not feeling well, Rebecca said quickly, too quickly. Seasickness. She's staying in her cabin today. I sat down, ordered coffee from a passing waiter. The tension at the table was thick enough to cut. So, Dad, Timothy said, setting his phone down, Rebecca and I have been talking. You should really explore Cartagena today. It's supposed to be amazing. The artisan market, the old city walls. I thought we'd all go together. Liam's not feeling great either, Rebecca interrupted. Kids, you know, and Timothy and I have some work calls to make, but you should definitely go. Get some authentic Colombian crafts. Mom would have loved that kind of thing. There it was again. Mom would have loved. The manipulation was so obvious now that I wondered how I'd ever missed it. I need to get some things from my backpack first, I said. My phone, some more cash. Actually, Rebecca's smile was bright, sharp. It's better if you go light today. Cartagena can be, well, let's just say pickpockets are common. Take maybe $80, no phone, no valuables. Just enjoy yourself without worrying about your things. I'd like my phone in case. Father Edward, her voice hardened slightly. Trust me on this. I've done extensive research. Tourists with expensive phones are targets. You'll have a much better experience if you're not constantly worried about your belongings. Timothy nodded along. She's right, Dad. Just take some cash. You'll be back by noon anyway. The ship doesn't leave until 1 p.m. Something in my gut screamed. Every instinct I'd honed over 76 years told me to refuse, to demand my passport, to lock myself in cabin 428 and not come out until we were safely back in Houston. But I looked at Timothy, my firstborn, the boy I'd taught to ride a bike, to throw a baseball, to be a man, and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe my own son would hurt me. Okay, I said. Just cash then. Rebecca's smile widened. Perfect. I'll get you some money from your wallet. How much do you need? 80 should be fine. She left the table, came back 2 minutes later with 4 $20 bills. Here you go. Have a wonderful time, Father Edward. Take lots of mental pictures. Mental pictures? Because I wouldn't have my phone. I took the money, put it in my front pants pocket, and stood up. Bye, Grandpa, Liam whispered. His eyes were filled with tears. Bye, buddy. I'll bring you something special. As I walked away, I heard Rebecca hiss at the boy. Stop that, right now. Cartagena was stunning. The artisan market was a maze of color, hanging tapestries in deep reds and blues, hand-woven baskets, silver jewelry glinting in the sunlight, carved wooden figurines of fish and birds and sailing ships. The vendors called out to me in cheerful Spanish, Señor, muy bonito, for your wife? She passed away, I said to one older woman. Ay, lo siento. She pressed a small wooden cross into my hand. For her soul, no charge, señor. I bought a miniature sailboat for Liam, carefully carved from a single piece of mahogany. The vendor wrapped it in newspaper, and I tucked it safely in my shirt pocket. 9:47 a.m. I checked my watch. The old Casio Carol had given me 15 years ago. Still plenty of time. Dad? I turned. Kayla stood there, 20 feet away, wearing sunglasses and a sun hat pulled low over her face. Kayla, I thought you were sick. I needed some air. She walked closer and I could see her hands were shaking. Dad, I need to use the restroom. There's a public one 2 blocks that way. I'll be right back, okay? Just stay here. Are you sure you're all right, sweetheart? You look, I'm fine. Just stay here, please. Don't move. I'll be right back. She hurried off before I could respond. I waited. 10:15 a.m. She should have been back by now. 10:30 a.m. Something was wrong. I walked toward the public restrooms, asked a woman coming out if she'd seen a woman in a sun hat. She shook her head. 10:45 a.m. Panic started creeping in. Senor, you okay? I turned. It was Sofia Martinez, the woman from the ship, carrying a woven bag full of purchases. My daughter, I said, my voice shaking. She went to the restroom 40 minutes ago and hasn't come back. I can't find her. Sophia's face changed. 40 minutes? Let me help you look. We searched, asked vendors, checked shops, walked up and down 3 different streets. 11:20 a.m. Senor Edward, Sophia said quietly. What time does your ship leave? My blood went cold. 1 p.m. We have time. It's an hour walk to the port, and ships often leave early if all passengers are boarded. She wouldn't leave me. My daughter wouldn't. But even as I said it, I remembered Liam's tears, Timothy's forced casualness, Rebecca's insistence that I leave everything behind. We need to go, Sophia said. Now. We ran. I'm 76 years old. I haven't run in a decade. My knees screamed, my lungs burned, sweat poured down my face and back. The heat was crushing, 95 degrees, maybe more. Come on, Mr. Edward, you can do it. Sophia was ahead of me, turning back every few seconds to make sure I was still upright. People stared as we passed, an old man and an older woman running through Cartagena like fugitives. 11:47 a.m. We rounded a corner and the port came into view, and my heart stopped. The Caribbean Voyager was there, but not at the dock. It It was 200 feet out, maybe more, pulling away slowly but steadily, white and massive and utterly unreachable. "No!" I screamed. "Wait! I'm a passenger!" I ran the last 100 yards to the pier's edge, waving my arms frantically. "Stop! Please, I'm on that ship!" A port worker loading cargo looked at me with pity. "Lo siento, señor. Ship is gone." "But I'm a passenger. Tell them to come back. They have to come back." He shook his head. "No can do. Ship on schedule." Sophia caught up to me, breathing hard. She grabbed my shoulder. "There," she pointed. "On the deck. Is that—" I looked. Deck 5. A small figure with brown hair leaning over the railing. Liam. My grandson was crying. I could see it even from this distance, the way his shoulders shook. He raised one small hand in a wave. Not a goodbye wave. A I'm sorry wave. A forgive me wave. Then Rebecca appeared behind him, put her hands on his shoulders, and pulled him back inside. For just a moment, Timothy appeared on deck 3. He stood at the railing, his face hidden behind sunglasses, looking directly at me. He didn't wave. He didn't call out. He just stood there for 5 seconds, 10, then he turned and walked away. On the bridge, through the windows, I saw the ship's captain. He had binoculars raised, pointed directly at me. He saw me. I know he saw me. His hand moved toward something, a radio maybe, then stopped. Someone said something to him. He lowered the binoculars, gave an order. The ship's engines increased their hum. It moved faster. "No," I whispered. "No, no, no, no." My legs gave out. I collapsed onto the concrete pier, my knees hitting hard enough that I felt something scrape, felt the warm trickle of blood. Sophia knelt beside me, her arm around my shoulders. The ship kept moving. 300 feet, 400, 500, until it was just a white speck on the blue horizon, and then it was gone. They were gone. My children had left me in a foreign country with no passport, no phone, no money, except the $62 left in my pocket after buying gifts. They had planned this, executed it, succeeded, and I was completely, utterly alone. "Senor, you need to come with me, please." Sophia helped me to my feet. My right knee was bleeding through my pants. I barely felt it. She guided me to the Port Authority office, a small, cramped room that smelled like stale coffee and old paper. A uniformed officer, maybe 45, looked up from his desk. "Can I help you?" "This man was abandoned by his family," Sophia said firmly, "from the cruise ship that just departed. They left him here intentionally." The officer's eyebrows rose. "Intentionally?" "Senor, that's a serious accusation." I witnessed it. His daughter led him away from the ship, then disappeared. They knew he had no passport, no phone. "Wait." The officer held up a hand. He turned to his computer, typed something. "Name?" "Edward Jackson," I said. My voice sounded hollow, distant, more typing, then a frown. "Spell that, please." "Jackson, Edward, Edward. He typed again, clicked, scrolled. His frown deepened. "Senor, there is no Edward Jackson on the passenger manifest for the Caribbean Voyager." The room tilted. "What?" "The ship that just left. Passenger list shows Timothy Jackson, Rebecca Jackson, and Liam Jackson. Party of 3. No one else with that surname." "That's impossible. I was on that ship. I slept there 2 nights. I ate dinner." "What was your cabin number?" 428, deck 4. More typing. A long pause. "Senor, cabin 428 is listed as maintenance unoccupied for this voyage." The words didn't make sense. They were English words, but they wouldn't connect in my brain. "Show me the screen," Sophia demanded. The officer turned the monitor. There it was, the manifest. I could see it clearly. Jackson party, Timothy Jackson, age 42, suite 315, Rebecca Jackson, age 40, suite 315, Liam Jackson, age 11, suite 315, no Edward, no cabin 428, I didn't exist. "I paid $6,500, I said. "I transferred it to my son's bank account 6 weeks ago. I have the confirmation." I reached for my phone that was on the ship, in my backpack, with everything else. "Do you have any proof?" the officer asked, not unkindly. "A receipt? An email confirmation? Anything?" I patted my pockets. Wallet? On the ship. Phone? On the ship. Passport? On the ship. All I had was $62 and a cabin key card. I pulled out the key card with shaking hands. Here, this is my key, to cabin 428. The officer took it, swiped it through a reader on his desk. Senor, this is not a valid ship key card. What? It's a dummy card. It would never have opened any cabin door. See the serial number? It's from a batch that was decommissioned 2 years ago. They gave me a fake key. A fake cabin number. They never registered me as a passenger. They planned this from the very beginning. Oh my God, Sophia whispered. I couldn't breathe. The room was too small, too hot, the air too thick. I stood up too fast. The room spun. I stumbled toward a trash can in the corner and vomited. Water and bile. I'd barely eaten anything at breakfast. Sophia rubbed my back. It's okay. It's okay. But it wasn't okay. Nothing would ever be okay again. Sophia took me to a shelter that night, Casa de Refugio, a small room with 6 beds. I lay awake on the thin mattress, staring at cracks in the ceiling, trying to understand how I'd gotten here. How does a man who built ships, who employed 200 people, who saved lives, how does that man end up in a homeless shelter in Colombia? At 11:30 p.m., Sophia returned with food, soup, bread. Eat, Mr. Edward, please. I'm not hungry. Eat anyway. I ate because she insisted. It tasted like nothing. I posted your story on my Instagram, she said quietly. I hope that's okay. I took photos this morning of you searching for your daughter, of you at the pier. I wrote what I witnessed. The whole world will know my children threw me away. The whole world will know you survived something terrible. There's a difference. She showed me her phone. Look, 8,000 shares already. People are furious. I saw my own face on the screen. I looked old, broken, lost. The next morning, Sophia woke me at 6 a.m. Mr. Edward, something's happening. The newspaper picked up your story. She showed me a Colombian paper, front page, my photo sitting on the shelter steps, head in my hands. Headline, Cruel Dad on El Caribe, Elderly American Abandoned by Family. It's spreading, she said. News stations want interviews. The American embassy called and... She paused. Someone else called. A photographer named Daniel Martinez. He says he knows you. I don't know anyone in Colombia except... Then it hit me. Martinez. Diego Martinez. The man I saved 30 years ago. Where is he? 20 minutes later, a young man walked into the shelter. 35, maybe. Long black hair, professional camera around his neck, kind eyes that reminded me of someone. He stopped when he saw me. His eyes filled with tears. Mr. Edward Jackson? You owned Jackson Maritime Shipyard in Houston? Yes. Who are you? I'm Daniel Martinez. Diego Martinez was my father. The world stopped. Diego had a son. I was 5 when the explosion happened. I don't remember much, but my father told me the story every single day for the rest of his life. Daniel sat down beside me. You carried him out of the fire, paid for his hospital, his surgeries, his recovery. $350,000 when you didn't have to pay a cent. He was my responsibility. It was my shipyard. My father worked 25 more years because of you. He saw me graduate university. He met his grandchildren. He died in 2021, but his last words were about you. Daniel's voice broke. He made me promise, if you ever see Mr. Edward, you pay the debt. Our family owes him everything. I started crying. I couldn't help it. Daniel pulled out his camera. Mr. Edward, I have 340,000 Instagram followers. I'm going to make your story impossible to ignore. Is that okay? I nodded. He took photos. Professional ones. My hands. My face. The bleeding scrape on my knee. The shelter behind me. Justice is coming, Daniel said. I promise you. By that evening, Daniel's posts had gone viral. 2.5 million shares. News stations across 2 continents. Hashtags trending worldwide. And on the Caribbean Voyager, in Suite 315, Timothy Jackson's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Rebecca threw her champagne glass across the room. It shattered against the wall. How did this happen? Timothy sat on the couch, pale, scrolling through his phone. That woman, Sophia, she was a goddamn social media writer. She documented everything. We're ruined, completely ruined. A knock on the door. Kayla entered, her face blotchy from crying. I told you this was wrong. I told you. Shut up, Rebecca snapped. You were part of this too. You threatened me. You said if I didn't help, you'd take my daughters away. You said you had lawyer connections. And I do. So you'd better keep your mouth shut or what? Kayla's voice broke. Dad is in Colombia with nothing. No passport, no money, no way home. And it's on every news channel. Mom would be so ashamed of us. Timothy finally looked up. The will opens in 6 weeks. If we can just… There is no just, Kayla said. I called the ship's counsel. Colombian authorities want to talk to all of us when we dock. Federal investigators are involved. We're going to prison, Timothy. We're going to prison for what we did to our own father. Day 4. The American Embassy in Cartagena. Consul Patricia Hayes sat across from me. Mr. Jackson, we're issuing emergency travel documents. You'll be flown back to Houston tomorrow. What about my children? They'll be met by federal investigators when the ship docks. Elder abuse, fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud. The evidence is substantial. Sophia squeezed my hand. Daniel stood behind me. I'm coming with you to Houston. I want to see justice served. That afternoon, a press conference. 30 reporters, cameras everywhere. A reporter asked, Mr. Jackson, what message do you have for your children? I looked directly at the camera. I loved you, I raised you, I trusted you, and you erased me like I never existed. My voice shook. But you forgot something. My wife Carol saw you coming. She knew, and she protected me the only way she could. The world is watching now. Justice is coming. Behind me, Sophia nodded. Beside me, Daniel stood with his camera ready. And somewhere on a ship in the Caribbean, Timothy Jackson watched the broadcast on his phone and realized his world was about to end. Day 5. Houston International Airport. The plane touched down at 2:47 p.m. I'd been gone for 9 days, but it felt like 9 years. Daniel and Sophia walked beside me through the terminal. Consul Hayes had arranged everything. Emergency passport, tickets, even clean clothes donated by the Colombian community in Cartagena. As we approached the exit, I heard it. Voices, lots of them. There he is! The terminal opened into a wall of camera flashes. 50 reporters, maybe more, pressing forward with microphones and questions shouting over each other. Mr. Jackson, how does it feel to be home? What do you want to say to your children? Are you pressing charges? A woman in a sharp suit pushed through, attorney Michael Lewis. She'd contacted me 2 days ago, offered pro bono representation. Mr. Jackson doesn't have a statement at this time, she said firmly, guiding me through the crowd. But I stopped. Turned to face the cameras. I have something to say. The crowd went quiet. My children threw me away when I was no longer useful to them. They erased me from a computer system like I never existed. They watched me scream from a pier and sailed away. My voice cracked. But my wife Carol knew. She saw them for what they really were, and she protected me even from beyond the grave. I took a breath. To every elderly person watching this, you are not disposable. You are not a burden. You matter. And if your family doesn't see that, the law will. The reporters erupted with more questions, but Michael guided me away. Outside, 40 elderly people stood holding candles despite the afternoon sun. Signs read, "We stand with Edward and Elder Lives Matter." An old woman approached, crying, "My son stole my savings and put me in a nursing home. Nobody believed me. Thank you for speaking for us." I hugged her. She smelled like lavender and hope. The port of Houston at 4 p.m. The Caribbean Voyager was docking. Coast Guard vessels flanked it. Police cars lined the pier. News helicopters circled overhead. I stood behind a barrier with Daniel, Sophia, and Michael Lewis. My hands were shaking. The gangway lowered. Regular passengers disembarked first, confused by the police presence, taking photos of the spectacle. Then I saw them. Timothy emerged wearing a gray suit and sunglasses. His shoulders were hunched, his face pale. Rebecca followed, a scarf covering most of her face. Kayla came next, no makeup, eyes red and swollen, and Liam. My grandson clutched a photo. I couldn't see what it was from this distance, and refused to walk beside his parents. They saw the police, the cameras. They froze. Then Liam saw me. "Grandpa!" He broke free from Rebecca's grip and ran. She lunged for him. "Liam, no!" But he was faster. He crashed into me so hard I nearly fell. Daniel caught my elbow. Liam's arms wrapped around my waist, his whole body shaking with sobs. "I'm sorry, Grandpa. I'm so sorry. I tried to warn you. I tried." I held him tight, stroking his hair. "I know, buddy. I know. None of this is your fault." He looked up at me with Carol's eyes. "I don't want to go with them. Please don't make me go with them. We'll figure it out. I promise." Timothy stood 30 feet away. He opened his mouth to speak. I held up one hand. "No, you don't get to talk to me. Not now. Not ever." Rebecca's mask slipped. "This is ridiculous. He's fine. Nothing happened to him." Michael Lewis stepped forward. "Mrs. Jackson, I strongly advise you to stop talking. Federal investigators are waiting for you." Two officers approached. "Mr. and Mrs. Timothy Jackson, Miss Kayla Jackson, please come with us. You're not under arrest, but we need to ask you some questions." Kayla was crying. "Dad, I'm sorry. She threatened me. She said she'd take my girls." "I know, honey." My voice was softer for her. "I know." They were led away. Timothy never looked back. Rebecca was still arguing with the officers. Kayla kept turning to look at me, her face a mask of guilt and grief. Liam buried his face in my shirt and didn't watch. 7 days later. Morrison and Associates Law Offices, downtown Houston. The conference room was elegant. Dark wood, leather chairs, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. I sat at the long table with Liam beside me, holding my hand so tight his knuckles were white. Across the table, Timothy and Rebecca, each with their own criminal defense attorney. Kayla sat separately with her lawyer, a kind-faced woman in her 50s. A federal investigator, Margaret Foster, sat in the corner observing. Attorney Morrison, Carol's lawyer for 30 years, stood at the head of the table. He was 67, silver-haired, with Carol's sealed will in his hands. "This will was sealed per Carol Jackson's explicit instructions," he began, "to be opened 4 years after her death, or sooner if Edward Jackson faced harm from family members." Rebecca whispered something to her lawyer. He shook his head. Morrison broke the seal. The wax cracked like a gunshot in the quiet room. He read, "I, Carol Ann Jackson, being of sound mind and body, do hereby declare this my last will and testament." He continued through the legal language. Then came the distributions. "To my husband Edward, everything, our home, all investment accounts totaling $7.2 million, vehicles and personal possessions. This is your money, earned through your labor." Timothy's face went white. "However," Morrison continued, "if this will is being read because our children have harmed you, the following conditions activate." The room went absolutely silent. To Timothy, $1, because legally I must acknowledge you. You always needed to be the biggest, the wealthiest, but you never learned that character matters more than capital. Timothy's lawyer touched his arm. He shook him off. To Rebecca, $0. You married my son for money. I saw through you from day one. You encouraged his worst traits and never loved him, only his potential inheritance. Rebecca stood up. "This is bullshit. She was on morphine. She wasn't—" "Sit down," Margaret Foster said quietly from the corner. "Or leave." Rebecca sat. To Kayla, $250,000 in trust for your daughter's education only. Those girls are innocent. But you, Kayla, received nothing directly. You were always kind, but never strong enough to stand up to cruelty. Kayla put her head in her hands and sobbed. The remaining $7 million will be split. $2 million to Colombian Community Foundation in honor of Diego Martinez and his family. $2 million to Elder Abuse Prevention Network. $3.2 million to Edward's Complete Control. $500,000 to Liam Jackson's Education Trust. Morrison paused. There's more. Mrs. Jackson recorded a video explanation. Would you like to see it? Yes, I whispered. The screen on the wall flickered to life, and there was Carol. She was in her hospice bed, thin and weak, but her eyes were sharp and clear. The date stamp read 3 weeks before her death. Hello, my darlings. Her voice. God, her voice. I hadn't heard it in 4 years. Liam squeezed my hand tighter. If you're watching this, it means you did exactly what I feared. Timothy, I heard you on the phone with Rebecca. Once the old man's out of the way, we split everything. You thought I was asleep. I wasn't. Timothy's face crumbled. Rebecca, I checked the browser history on my laptop. Elder incapacity laws, power of attorney seizure, how to prove dementia. Did you really think I wouldn't notice? Rebecca stared at the screen, frozen. Kayla, you're weak, honey. You'll go along with whatever they plan because you're scared, but enabling cruelty makes you cruel too. Kayla's sobs grew louder. Edward, my love. Carol's expression softened. You're too good, too trusting. You'll forgive them because that's who you are. But I couldn't. So I protected you the only way I knew how. A tear rolled down the screen Carol's cheek. I changed this will because I love you, because you deserve better than children who see you as an obstacle. And if they succeed in hurting you, if they abandon you, harm you, try to steal from you, then they get what they deserve. Nothing. She looked directly at the camera. At us. I hope you never have to see this, Edward. I hope I'm wrong about our children, but I don't think I am. I'm so sorry. All my love. Forever. Your Carol. The screen went black. The room was silent, except for Kayla's crying. I couldn't breathe, couldn't move, couldn't process that my wife, dying, in pain, barely able to stay awake, had used her last strength to protect me. Liam whispered, Grandma was really smart. Yeah, buddy, I managed. She was the smartest person I ever knew. Timothy finally spoke, his voice broken. Dad, don't. I stood up. Carol said everything that needed to be said. You're going to contest this will, I'm sure. Spend years in court. But you'll lose. Because she documented everything. She was always 3 steps ahead of you. I picked up Liam. Come on, let's go home. As we left, I heard Rebecca screaming about appeals, about morphine-induced delusions, about unfair treatment. But I didn't care. Carol had won. Even from the grave, she'd won. 3 weeks later, federal court. The charges: elder abuse, fraud, conspiracy, maritime fraud. Timothy and Rebecca faced trial. The evidence was overwhelming. Carol's video, bank transfers, the deleted passenger manifest, witness testimonies from Sophia and Daniel, and ship crew members who'd been pressured to participate. Kayla took a plea deal, testified against Timothy and Rebecca in exchange for reduced charges, 200 hours community service at an elder care facility, 2 years probation. The crew member who deleted my name from the system, fired, criminal fraud charges, banned from maritime work. Captain Hernandez lost his license for 5 years, fined $50,000. I saw you on that pier, Mr. Jackson, he said at his hearing. I could have stopped the ship. That will haunt me forever. Timothy and Rebecca's sentencing came in November. Timothy: 3 years federal prison, $100,000 fine, 5 years probation. Rebecca: 4 years federal prison, $150,000 fine, disbarred permanently, joint civil judgment, $500,000 to me, payable from their remaining assets. I felt no joy watching them led away in handcuffs, just a deep, aching sadness. That could have been prevented. All of it. If they'd just loved me more than they loved money. 6 months later. I bought a small house on Galveston Bay, 2 bedrooms, a workshop, and a view of the water. Liam lives with me now. Full custody. Timothy signed away his parental rights from prison. Rebecca stopped fighting it. Grandpa, is this really ours? Liam asked the first day we moved in. It's really ours, buddy. He has the bedroom with the window facing the water. Every morning, he wakes up to the sound of seagulls and waves. I'm teaching him to fish, to fix engines, to build things with his hands. These are skills nobody can take from you, I tell him. Sophia visits twice a month from Colombia. She finished her book, The Abandoned Father, How Social Media Restored Justice. I wrote the foreword. It became a bestseller. Daniel moved to Houston permanently. I'm staying close to family, he said, looking at me. Last month, he married his girlfriend Elena. I walked her down the aisle. You gave me my father, he told me. Now you're like a second father. Kayla visits monthly, supervised at first, now just monitored. We're rebuilding trust slowly. I'll spend the rest of my life proving I'm sorry, Dad, she says every visit. I'm not ready to forgive yet, I tell her honestly, but I'm ready to try. She works at the nursing home where she does her community service. These residents remind me of you, she said once. How scared you must have been. I was terrified, I admitted, but I survived. Carol's Law, passed in Texas in March, mandatory registry for elderly traveling internationally, 72-hour welfare checks, stricter maritime passenger accountability. I testified at the state capitol. The Elder Abuse Prevention Network, funded by Carol's bequest, has helped over 3,000 victims in 8 months. I'm on the board of directors. Carol's legacy is saving people she never met, Sophia said. She was right. 1 year after everything happened. I'm standing on the deck of a small educational cruise ship, not the Caribbean Voyager, which settled our lawsuit and rebranded. This is different, smaller. A program about maritime safety and elder rights. I'm the guest speaker. Beside me, Liam, now 12, Daniel and Elena, Sophia, 30 other elderly advocates. Grandpa, are you scared? Liam asks as the ship's horn sounds. Of the ocean? Never. The ocean gave me back my life. I put my arm around him. It was people who tried to take it, but the ocean brought me angels. I look at my chosen family. Not blood. Choice. Sophia, who witnessed and fought for me. Daniel, who honored his father's debt. Elena, who opened her heart. Liam, who stayed pure. This is what family really means, I say. The ship begins to move. I touch my wedding ring, Carol's ring, which I wear on a chain around my neck now. You're still protecting me, aren't you, honey? I whisper. The wind picks up, warm and gentle, like an answer. Liam leans against me. Grandma would be proud of you, Grandpa. I think she would be proud of both of us, buddy. The Houston port grows smaller behind us. Ahead, the open ocean stretches endless and blue. Timothy is in a federal prison in Pennsylvania, Rebecca in one in Arizona. They'll be out in a few years, but they'll never be part of my life again. Kayla is trying. That's all I can ask. And me? I'm 77 years old. I was abandoned, erased, left for dead in a foreign country. But I survived. Because an old sea dog always knows how to swim. The sea doesn't abandon its own. It just teaches them to keep going, to find new currents, to trust that somewhere out there, land is waiting. And family, real family, is whoever pulls you from the water when you're drowning. I take a deep breath of salt air and smile. I'm home. Finally, truly home.